channel, Learn Smart Coding. In this video, we are going to talk about let and constant keyword in JavaScript, and we will see how to make use of this let and constant properly. We always had an ability to define the variables in JavaScript, and we have done that using the var keyword. However, the var keyword has some limitations when it comes to scopes. The var keyword has only two scopes. One is the global scope and other one is a function scope. Because of that, there are a lot of confusion and developers used to make a lot of mistakes. Come, let's understand this with a good example. Here I've opened up my Visual Studio Code with the simple editor example. Let's take a look at the var. So let's say I have a function called getData which accepts a boolean flag, and inside the function I have checking if the condition is true. I'm assigning a value to a variable called x and I'm returning that x outside the if condition. Let's say I'm calling that function by passing a false. So these two lines will display, one is to display it on the screen and one is to just log it on the console. So let's run and see what happens. See, I got undefined as x. This is what the confusion is, right? We used to know that there is a JavaScript hosting in variables, which means the x that I've declared within the if will also be at the entry level. So we expected x to be some value. What this means is, behind the scene, the JavaScript is declaring x as undefined outside the if condition. That is what is happening. So because the flag is false, it's not going inside and returning an undefined value. And if you pass through, obviously it will go inside and we will get a value called 5. That is what we have defined it. Now let's remove this condition and let's return this x within the if condition itself, which means whenever the flag is set to true, we will return a value and that value is 5. Alright, this is good. And if I return a false, this is going to return undefined because x is not defined anywhere. So this is what called a function scope. The x is defined within the function. That's the second part that we discussed, the function scope. Now what happens if we change the var to let, and I'm going to put false for both the values, meaning I'm going to send false for this and see nothing happened. Let's take a look at the console and see if there is any error. So I'm going to open up my developer tool by pressing F12 on my screen. You see there was an error. This is an unexpected error. So let, it says it's not even defined. That's because let is taking a blocked scope. So the let x, which means the x is available within the if condition. It's not even available outside the if condition. That's called blocks to scope. This is the problem where the x doesn't have, the varchar doesn't have, and let is solving this problem. So if I pass through, it is still going to give me the same error because, again, as I said, the x is within the if block, and if I return the x within the if block, I will get a value called 5. That is the beauty of this let keyword, where it will let you to define a variable within that scope and use it, and which means you can use the same variable outside that scope, which is legal JavaScript according to the ECMAScript 6. Now let's comment this code, and then I'm going to copy paste this code and see with a for loop. So I'm defining a for and I'm going to navigate for like 10 times, and like where x starts with 0 and then it less than 10. So the last value of the x is 10. So what will happen if I do a for loop with the var keyword and return an x? The last value, which is iterated 10, which came as a result. Now if I change the var keyword to a let, you might see the same error. Let will become a scope within that for. So you will not get anything that is returned. That's why you're seeing that error. Now you understood how let works and how var works. The next thing that we will see in this video is the constant keyword. Okay, I have a method called getData and I'm accepting the flag. So if I have a flag set to true, what I'm doing is I'm defining two variables where the first one is also x, the second one is also x, and the second one value is different than the first one. So if we return the x value from this method and if we try to call this, what will happen is it will return the last value that was assigned to a variable called x. Though it is legally correct to declare the same variable twice, the last one will always wins. So here in this case, where x line number 27 wins because the last one that was assigned, pre-assigned. Now if I change the first one from var to a constant, which means the x is a constant and then we are trying to define the same as var. That's why you're seeing an error, because it clearly says you have already defined it. It did not say it cannot assign it. It clearly says you cannot define again. X is a variable which is already defined. So if I cut this and put it outside the if, you might surprisingly see the same value, because again constant x is defined within the function scope. So within function there is a variable called x. Even if you declare with let, it is going to result in the same thing because they're all defined in a scope called function scope. So that's why you are seeing error whenever you have the same variable with let constant compared to the var within the function. Now what we can do is, let's assign this let keyword of x, right? Let's assign this from the function to outside the function. Now if you see, the x variable is defined twice, but you got the result as 15. That's because the x which is sitting outside, it's having a different scope, and the x which is sitting inside the function is a different scope. That's how the scope works with let, var and constant. So if you're defining outside, that's different. You can reuse the same variable inside the function as well. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video, don't forget to subscribe my channel, like it, share it, comment it, and never forget to click on the bell icon.